The Knicks. Everybody wants to know what's wrong with the Knicks. Why are they such a big disappointment despite having a somewhat of a successful season in comparison to last year? Um, it's a lot of things wrong with the Knicks. Now, I know that people's natural uh, their natural instinct is to blame one person or blame one player, put it all on one player and everything, and that's just how it is. You see, uh, like I could give you a couple of examples. One example is one I already talked about with Russell Westbrook. Okay, everybody's quick to go ahead blame him. Russell Westbrook is 50, 60% of the problem. Then of course you have Brooklyn, the situation in Brooklyn. While they haven't quite came out and said that Kyrie's, you know, a big problem. You could tell that's kind of what they really want to allude to. And I really feel like something like that is bound to happen. And then of course you have the situation that's going on with the Wizards. What's up with it, Jelly Bean? I see you in the building. You have the situation that's going on with the with the Wizards and Spencer Dinwiddie. You know, they want to make him out to be the you know the problem. And in every team structure, there's always a guy. Okay, yeah, we're gonna leave him to be the fall guy. And it's happened with the Lakers several times, not only with Westbrook, but it's also been with AD, and it's also been with Frank Vogel, in which they have a lot to do with it, but it's still a team game, and uh, it's still unfair to put everything all on one player. Now, let me say this first and foremost, okay? Now, the Knicks have lost their identity. They don't have an identity anymore, okay? They don't have an identity anymore. Their identity last year was uh, the Tibbs uh, way of doing things, which he's always been, about hard nosed defense, not the greatest offensive minded coach or whatnot, but just tough, hard nosed, play hard, uh, and do whatever you need to do to get the job done. I mean, of course you had Julius Randle, who had an excellent season last season up until the playoffs, and then ever since then, I think he hasn't quite gotten over that. Now I'm gonna get to Julius Randle in just a second. First, like I said, that was the first thing. They don't have an identity. Okay, they're having an identity crisis right now. They need to figure out who the fuck they are. Okay, they need to figure out where they're going. Because okay, you're 24 and 30 now, right? You're 24 and 30. You're you're actually winning some of the games in which you go into, and then next thing you know, there's a collapse towards the end, sort of like what happened with the Los Angeles Lakers, and it happened last night against Donovan Mitchell, in which they're shorthanded. Y'all pretty much have your full roster for the most part, except Derrick Rose, which leads me to my next point. Derrick Rose, as much as we want to sit here and say, he's over the hill, he's gone, and he can't do this, he can't do that anymore. He's not the same MVP level, Derrick Rose and all that other stuff. Derrick Rose is still very valuable to that squad, and he's out because of the ankle, uh, and of course that has that has not been the greatest thing for them. Okay, that's another thing. The third thing is Tibbs. And yes, I'm going to put some of the blame on Tibbs. Tibbs needs to realize that you need to put some of those guys in there and let them get more minutes than what they're getting. Like the OB Toppins, like now he did, Alex Burke, he's getting his minutes and stuff like that. But everybody wants to know why Emmanuel Quickly is not getting the chance that he deserves. You're playing him in spurts, you know, and he's gonna make his mistakes. It's just like with Maxi, and they they played in the backcourt together. They have relatively similar styles and everything. Of course, Maxi, to me, he gets he gets the nod over Quickly. But the thing about it is that you have to understand that young players are going to make their mistakes. You see it all the time with LaMelo Ball, and he's still a winner. That doesn't take anything away from his winning attitude. Obi Toppin, I think you should start him. I think you should start Obi Toppin. Give him an opportunity. Give some of those young guys an opportunity. It may work. It may not work out. But you certainly have you have an identity crisis. You have guys that are hurt. And then on top of that, you don't have any leadership, which is what I talked about. And with another team, in Brooklyn, you don't have any leaders, like any guys that you could even say to try to develop into leaders. You don't know yet because you're not giving it any chance. You should go ahead and put in Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin to shake up things a little bit. I call it a theory of shaking up and waking up. Sometimes you got to shake some things up and wake some things up. It's just like with the situation that just went down in Portland just now with C.J. McCullough. A lot of people, they feel like, oh well, C.J. McCullough, he shouldn't have went. It was time for him to go, and it's time to move on from the Dame Lillard era. That guy, Dame Lillard, is not getting any younger, and they're ready to move on. They're ready to make moves. So what I'm saying in this situation right here, this isn't working. What you're doing is not working. So you're gonna have to go ahead and make those changes and shake those things up and wake up people. Now, Evan Fournier, he's not happy. He doesn't like Julius Randle's attitude, and a lot of guys on the team don't like Julius Randle's attitude. The Knicks fans are disgusted with Julius Randle's attitude, and while Julius Randle has shown he could be a really good player, he hasn't shown the best personality in the world, and like a detrimental effect on a team. Uh, R.J. Barrett, to me, it may not reflect so much on the numbers, but he's been more beneficial as that lead guy than Julius Randle. He's had some inconsistencies here and there, but for the most part, RJ Barrett has he RJ Barrett can do so much on that floor, and it's showing that Julius Randle is starting to just be, one dimensional. When his game isn't going right, okay, well, damn, you got to do something else. RJ Barrett can do that. RJ Barrett can defend. RJ Barrett can rebound. RJ Barrett can facilitate. RJ Barrett can run in transition. RJ Barrett can, stop and pop when he's on. RJ Barrett can he can run the floor. He can run the show, but not only run the show just for just scoring. He could get other guys involved. And so now they got to Tibbs has to know that, okay, RJ Barrett is the guy that you could rely on, not Julius Randle. And a lot of people didn't realize that when he was at Duke, it was him and Cam Reddish that took up the slack for Zion Williamson when he wasn't there. But you're so dominated on by the media on, oh yeah, Zion's the next LeBron James, or Zion's the next this, or he's the next that. Oh, he dunking over this person, he dunking over that person. No, that's not really what you need to be looking at. You need to be looking at, okay, this guy's upside is going to be better than Zion coming out of college. And I said that about him and Cam Reddish, because these guys were nothing but freshmen, and they're coming in. And that's another thing too. We have to think about how young these guys are. Um, these guys are relatively young. But before I get to that, I know I'm jumping all over the place. Kemba Walker, that situation, right? At first, you wanted to go ahead and you wanted to, Tibbs wanted to try to blame Kemba Walker like it was his fault. Uh, you say I remember Knicks fans going crazy after winning one game. Well, Slinky, they were excited, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was excited myself because, Slinky, I don't know how old you are, and I don't know, what era of basketball that you really are used to watching, but I know the era of basketball that I came from. The Knicks were always uh, it was it wasn't fun unless you had the Knicks in the mist, man. Let's just put it that way. Especially when you talk about the 90s, and you know what I'm saying. Even in the 80s, they were relatively competitive, not as competitive as they were in the 90s, of course, or whatever. But it was always good. See, you're 18, See, but I'm pretty sure you have, older guys, what I'm saying, like myself, uncles and cousins, whatever, family members. They'll tell you, okay, while the Knicks, they didn't win championships and stuff like that, they were an entertaining team to watch for that time. And at one point, a lot of people felt that, Chicago, I'm sorry about that, not Chicago, New York was the mecca of basketball. If you came, like, everybody wants to play in Madison Square Garden just as much as they wanted to play at that time, the Great Western Forum or the Staples Center. Was hyping up Randall so much. Do you think he crumbled under the media pressure? Yeah, I think he did, Slinky, and that's a very good question, man. You know, and Jelly Bean, you act like dog, you're still a spring chicken. What the hell are you talking about? Jelly Bean, you act like you fucking 40 years old, man. You still young as hell, man. Jelly Bean be talking like he my age. You still young as hell, nigga. I remember when I was 18. Nigga, your ass is still young. You ain't even reached 30 yet, nigga. Nigga, your ass is still young. But to get back on Slinky, I gotta fuck with y'all a little bit, man. I'm digressing on my bad. Now, listen, Slinky brought up a good point. Slinky brought up a good point. Um, Julius Randle, he's from here. He's from the area. He's from Texas. So I'm not accustomed to seeing Julius Randle like this. And I've seen Julius Randle at the gym. I got to keep it a stack, man. I want people to feel like they know me. It's just like with Ticket. He came through this morning. He told me, you know, uh, saying what's up, and talking about the Russell Westbrook. Everybody fuck with me. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat shit. But the fact is that Slinky brought up a good question. I mean, a good question, and made a good point. Now, Julius Randle, he people see him as a complimentary player. Now, they at first it was like, okay, he got a taste of what it was like to play in New York now, and now there's only very few people that could actually deal with that type of pressure playing in New York. And of course, that was the championship teams back in the days, because New York is still the same, whether it was in the '60s and in the '70s when they were winning their championships up until now. New York is New York. Madison Square Garden is Madison Square Garden. Spike Lee done been there before I was even fucking born. Spike Lee still there in the same damn spot. Is in New York is New York. Everybody had to play there, from Earl to Pearl Monroe to Walt Clyde Frazier to Willis Reed to Dave DeBusschere uh, to Patrick Ewing. Of course, Anthony Mason, God rest his soul. Charles Oakley, Xavier McDaniel. Um, even the guys that weren't really as successful, like the Stephon Marburys, and of course Carmelo Anthony. You can't forget about him. Amari Stoudemire, brief stint, just everybody. I mean, even the ones that made a little stop through for a little, Steve Francis. Everybody stops in New York. But see, at one point in time, New York turned into, oh, if I go to New York, that's the end of my motherfucking career. You know, that's what it used to be. Like, sort of like if they send you to Detroit or one of these other teams or whatever, it's just like, shit, that's the end. You said as a Raptor fan, they always, the media says we're aren't good. Slinky, I want you to pull up when I talk about Gary Trent Jr. Okay, I want you to pull up when I'm talking about Gary Trent Jr. Listen, I'm going to touch on that briefly, but I'm going to just say this: the Raptors aren't to be fucked with. Okay, and they're a scary ass team. Just they're just as scary as fucking Cleveland. But I will get into that because I got to talk about, of course, Gary Trent Jr. But the thing about it is that Julius Randle, he's having to get a dose of what it's like to really you listen. You can't. It's not going to be all good. Guys like Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul, and MJ, uh, all of the superstars that we know of, you got to take the good with the bad. They criticize Kobe to a T all the time when he was messing up. They criticize MJ. They criticize Magic, Tragic Johnson. They criticize Larry. And I'm mentioning those guys because they were in the L.A. market, they were in the Boston market, and of course, um, the New York market. Those are still big markets. Now they haven't been playing up to par, but they're still a big market. Now, what's up with it, Stephen? Mean Stephen Green in the building. I see you in the building, man. Hope everything's going good for you, bro. I want you to keep your motherfucking head up, bro. Keep your motherfucking head up. You know what I'm talking about. Keep your motherfucking eye to that motherfucking sky and poke that motherfucking chest out and let your motherfucking nuts hang. Okay? Pause. Don't let shit get to you. You understand me? Don't let shit get to you, bro. You don't let shit get to you. Matter of fact, you gotta have that motherfucking ghost mentality. Just had that calm rage. You feel me? That's how niggas succeed. If we had calm rage, we would succeed. But everybody rage is always predicated on not keeping their composure. Now, that's another thing too. These guys don't have any composure. Now, Tibbs, they went erratic and they went crazy about Kimball Walker. Kimball was not the problem. Okay, yeah, it showed it in the analytics in terms of their defensive efficiency and stuff like that. But you got to realize, Kimball's, he's not the same that he was when he was with Charlotte, and that's because of the injuries. And Kimba, when you didn't see Kimba's best days when he was in Charlotte because he wasn't getting he wasn't being shown that they didn't have that much talent around him like that, and he wasted a lot of years. It kind of reminds me of Boogie Cousins, and Kimba used to be a closer. He was a closer. He knew how to end games. That was his calling card. But it's like I felt like him going to New York. It was just it just was not a great move for them. What they were trying to do. You're getting a guy that is pretty much a shell of himself. You know what I'm saying? Now he'll show up in spurts and stuff like that. But they were expecting to see Kimba from goddamn Charlotte, and see when you put expectations like that on a player that has a lot of injury history, you're gonna be sadly disappointed. And of course, the icing on the cake, it will always be the Knicks front office. The front office is still relatively the same. Um, the only slight difference is that you have Tibbs in there now. I still think that New York has a chance. Yeah, they do. It's gonna really take some. It's gonna take a harder effort, and it's gonna take a guy like Julius Randle to do more things than just focusing just primarily on scoring or getting his buckets or trying to worry about offense. You know, it goes back to what I was saying just about the Lakers and everything. I got to give the Knicks the same smoke. If they see, their guy who they see as the best player, in my opinion, right now, is RJ Barrett is the best player. You can say what you want. He's been the best player. Um, Shoot, pretty much this entire season. If they see RJ Barrett doing that, or if they saw Julius Randle, you know, diving in there for rebounds. I mean, diving in there for loose balls, getting in there, crashing the boards and stuff like that. Hustling on defense and stuff like that. When really it's not expected of you, but the fact that you're doing it, you're doing it to be like, okay, look, man, my best player, man, he's doing everything that he can, and he's playing tireless defense, exhausting defense and stuff like that. that's gonna spark a motivation in a lot of those guys. That's the same thing that I said about the Lakers. You said the problem with the Knicks is patience. Don't give the Knicks time to grow as a team. A team has to grow to be successful. Don't take 1 to 2 years. It takes 3 to 4 years. Julius Randle is a good fit around team. Him don't fit the chemistry. Um, he Julius Randle is him mentally. Like last night they collapsed. Every game that they've had, they collapsed. They even collapsed. They've collapsed on this trip. They collapsed against L.A. They collapse. They'll good, and then next they'll do good in the first half, first 3 quarters, and then they can't close. But you're right about that though. It's Stephen Green. You got to realize that this this era is different. You know they want microwave success. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, that's just what we have to adapt to. But I'm that way myself. You do have to give it time. That's what I was saying about guys like Emmanuel Quickly, Alex Burke and Toppin. You got to give those guys time to grow and develop and make their mistakes that they need to make. And that's why some of these teams are blowing they have done everything that they could to develop their talent. But I'm not gonna make that excuse about the chemistry. It's just that Julius Randle needs to continue to work hard. Um, he did what was necessary. He did what was necessary lose a little bit of weight. So now you got to be able to do what's necessary to deal with this New York media. Everybody knows that's why a lot of people don't want to play in New York. They don't want to play in LA. Because they know what comes with it. When you're successful, yeah, it's a great thing. But when you're playing like shit, they're gonna let you know. Well, look, the the NBA is not focused on like the Sacramentos, the Detroits, the Orlandos, and Utah. They're not focused on it. They're just now starting to turn the corner with Memphis. Said these teams our names don't have good coaching. Um, yeah, Sacramento doesn't. Uh, Orlando they were trying to get Penny Hardaway. Now, of course, Penny Hardaway, he was successful at Memphis. Now, I know that he struggled this year, because of various things that have went on. But they were trying to get him. I think Detroit, to my knowledge, had their eye on Jawan Howard. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. But their development is not good. I mean, you got a guy like Cade Cunningham who nobody is talking about. People forgot about him as a rookie. The only rookies that they're really talking about is Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley. So um, that's pretty much everything that's wrong with the Knicks. Um, I hope that he gets better. I could see them uh, trying to shake things up, but They're having an identity crisis. They're having an identity crisis right now. And what's up with it, Stephen Brown? I see you in the building. They're having an identity crisis. Uh, you know, there's lack of leadership. Now, if anybody is capable of being a leader, it's R.J. Barrett, but he's still growing mentally. I think that he's cut to deal with that. And on top of that, you got to get quickly in there, and you got to start OB Toppin. I stand on that. Some people might not agree with it, but you got to acclimate it. Like I said, it's a shake up and a wake up type of deal. You know, you have a team right now. Let's not rush to be like, oh yeah. Well, I don't think the only thing that they could really do, because I think I want to say I'm not familiar. They had at one point they had 70 million in terms of their cap space, but I'm not too knowledgeable on their space that they have right now in terms of their cap. But what I am gonna say is that you can't rush to be like, okay, yeah, we need to blow this team up because y'all were already trying to develop. Y'all were already in. Now that y'all aren't successful from in comparison to last season, then okay, everybody's like, okay, yeah, we need to do this, we need to do that. At first, you try to blame it on Kemba Walker. That's not the problem. Then you try to now you constantly blaming Randle. No, it's not that. You just got to shake some things up. I'm hoping that the Knicks go on a run. They definitely have the potential, and some people might not agree. They have the personnel, but they're just gonna have to. You're gonna have to go through this tough time. And if they arise from it and they do good, then that shows a lot. Uh, but I'm gonna also say this too: Tibbs is not exempt either. He's not exempt either because we also gotta think that they have to buy in too. Chemistry and buying in is very important. Yeah, maybe so. Shoot, they mess around, it could possibly be this year. It could possibly be this year, but that remains to be seen. But Memphis is they're proving people wrong. Ja Morant, he's made it a point to come back the very next year and improve on different aspects of his game. That's what separates him from uh mofos like him and uh Anthony Edwards, guys like that. They're coming back year after year. LaMelo Ball, they're improving on something. Ben Simmons hadn't done that, and that's why the league is it's going in a different direction from a lot of other players too, especially like James Harden. But I'm not going to get into that. Hey man, I appreciate everybody pulling up. Like the video, share, subscribe, hit the notifications. Polo Sports Talking Entertainment. I will get at you later.